Hey, knowledge seekers, welcome. I'm excited to share with you another expansion of what it means to find something that we are seeking in life. And I think a lot of us can relate to truth and beauty. Whatever we might be seeking, we might be out there trying to make money for our family, or we might be trying to influence a large group. But there are also some of us out there that are trying to create something beautiful. And that's where I think that free knowledge will help us all out. Because if we create something beautiful for the world, it will all it'll be satisfying for you and for the rest of the world. So I want to share with you today of how to get more knowledge. And really it's about teaching each other as a community. So here's how the approach that I've started in the last couple of years and how it works is a combination of a few different tools. So first we have a meetup in a classroom, and that gets us together and really starts sharing the information because we see each other, we know each other, and it really inspires a culture of trust. And then offline in between those sessions, we need a way to communicate and collaborate. And that's where we have email or other file tools such as GitHub. And GitHub is an amazing story of how this free knowledge works. And then on top of that, sharing it with the online community, building on a collaboration component that people can understand more easily, similar to the classroom experience where they get to see people and they have a much higher data rate of what someone is trying to communicate. So right in the center of all those tools is where you get the free knowledge. So let's talk about how is that actually going to work. So last year, I started in a subject area. I've always been very passionate about science, but then I started to expand and realize there's so many more areas to learn, so much to learn, so little time. And I have a passion for all types of learning. This year, I started expanding into music, and it's been a lot of fun. And I've realized that also expands into other areas. It's a matter of investment of your time, value of investment. So beyond that, I am looking on to next year and trying to decide what to go into and start a new community, because ultimately I'll get to where this will all end up. But for right now, time's sake is one at a time and bringing them together. So upcoming, it could be looking at art, looking at wellness, looking at theology. What could maybe give me your feedback, what you would be interested in seeing next. And then lastly, also language. I'm not sure where this might fit in terms of in the 5-year roadmap, but bringing in language. And I'll talk about each one of those here in a second. So what does it look like? Over here, let's talk about this graph. I'll give an analogy. Imagine that you had this friend that you talked to that you said, I want to go to New York City, and we're in Portland, but I don't really have any money or a way to get there. But this friend knew someone, and they said, hey, this is just hypothetical. I know someone that needs you to charter a bus to New York City, and they'll pay you to do it. So this is kind of a win-win, where you get to go to New York City and you get paid for doing it. Now think of the journey from here to New York City as free knowledge as your lifetime from beginning to end. So it's starting on a path, and you're going to have a bunch of people volunteer and say, hey, do you want to come with me? And of course, you're going to tell all of your friends. So people may jump on the bus, and they may not want to go to New York City. They may want to jump off, maybe halfway in between, say Chicago. And that's okay. There are different scenarios where this might exist. So let's say this here is Portland and this is New York City, and you're traveling along here. And at some point, this works just like GitHub does. At some point, they may jump off and say, you know what? I've learned all this knowledge along the way. I really like this idea. Let's go start it. And you have people joining in the bus analogy, so to speak. So you have people contributing, and they really like that. So they fork it and they work on that project together. And that may be extremely successful, or it may fail and they say, you know what, let's try again. So they come back to the community. This is the free knowledge community over a lifetime. And how do we provide it for free? Well, let's talk about that. So over here is your bell curve. And this is the amount of people in the world that would really line up to this idea, conception of free knowledge. So if you look at the top 14, 15%, these are the innovators or creators in that idea of free knowledge. The ones that create it, share it for free, and give it to others. And then these over here are the ones that also adopt it, and the first one to share it with others. And then they share it to the rest of the community. Now, the rest of the community may find value in bits and pieces of it. They may not be into it every single day, but it might be some small puzzle piece that they're trying to solve that you have provided value. And in return, they may give you back your extra resources, whether they donate time, donate money to your cause. And that's really what we're looking at in terms of a community. Let's talk about some of the subject areas. Like I said, last year was science, and there's so many opportunities, but just to get people started and aware, what we really worked together to start a community was around the data science, and ultimately brought in more people in astronomy. And then we started to think, well, how can we apply data science to astronomy? Maybe that's a possibility. And also we'd like to see more of biology. There's so many branches of science that you can imagine that we could bring in to the science. So although it can be general, but it also can be specific. This year, I've been excited to start a new passion, and that is music. And I really enjoy singing. It brings a lot of joy. And also, people really want to learn an instrument in their free time. So why not bring that in? Or composing. Composing is similar to reading or writing a new language. So you bring that in together and you have music. What about wellness? There are people in many parts of their life, maybe their whole life, they're really trying to stay healthy. Healthy makes us happy. There's 3 components to it. There's nutrition, there's exercising, there's sleep, but they're all related. We don't really distinguish them as different, but if we bring them together, then we'll start to notice better wellness. How about art? I'm an aspiring artist. One day I would love to create something beautiful, right? It's about creating, especially in the world of digital. Now we can do many things we couldn't do 20 years ago. We can cheat by going digital. We can zoom in and create things where we can't necessarily if we're doing things with a paintbrush. And also there's new technologies around sculpting. Think of the Oculus Rift. You can create in augmented reality and virtual reality, you can create your own sculpting and paint them. And just imagine if you could 3D print those. So a lot of technologies gives us new opportunity to create beautiful, beautiful ideas. And lastly, there's painting. Of course, painting has been around forever, but it really requires a lot of thinking to do that. And this also intersects with other areas as you'll find out. What about theology? Theology is a major topic. You'll find out that many people love talking about it. And why not be open? I'm a Christian and I believe in Christianity, and I want to be with Christians, but I also want to be with other people as well, because I want to hear their story and what makes them believe what they believe. And why not hear about that and stay open? And then there's some that do not believe in religion, and how can we bridge and bring those together? And then how about language? There's so many opportunities. Number one need in the world is better communication, and how we can relate to people, how we can solve each other's problems. And we do that through communication. What if you could learn a language that impacts a third of the population? Or what if you could find out more data that they have that you didn't have access to? So there's many possibilities in learning additional languages, which I think is another top reason people want to learn. So what does it look like? If you bring all of these together, it intersects of what I think really people should be seeking for in knowledge, and that is truth and beauty. Thank you for listening. Hope you tune in for another talk. Cheers.